RetroDaze.
When April hit this year, I started thinking about all the fond memories I have of Easter in the 1980s. Since I spend so much time reminiscing about Halloween, with a little Thanksgiving and Christmas sprinkled in for good measure, I often deprive myself of the pastel parade that is Easter. Boasting baskets of candy brimming with plastic grass, dyed eggs hiding in shoes, and all things coconut and chocolate, it's a wonder Easter hasn't become every child's favorite holiday, though I suspect that might have something to do with the lack of presents, but that's just speculation. In the spirit of the holiday, I've gathered together 5 memorable things and 1 bonus entry from Easter in the 1980s. I labored under no other restrictions, which has resulted in a gleefully eccentric list. In the number 5 spot, we have Easter Bunny motionets. One of my favorite types of decorations are electronic figures called motionets, the most popular ones being made by Telco. They range in size from 6 inches to 2 feet and generally have a limited range of motion with repeated song or sound. The smaller variety are battery operated and more prone to malfunction, usually misaligned gears causing the figure to no longer move. The larger ones are generally sturdier and have plugs to power them. You might be most familiar with the Christmas ones of Santa and Mrs. Claus, or the many Halloween varieties that include witches, universal monsters, and ghouls. Even rarer are the Easter versions, of which I was lucky enough to score at a yard sale for a couple of bucks just a few years ago. I almost left these beauties behind for the simple reason that they weren't Halloween related and kinda dirty. I even started to walk away when the seller yelled out, "How about $2?" I shrugged and took another look at them. Yeah, not in the best shape, but for $2, I figured I could clean them up. When I got back home, I was surprised to find they actually worked. He claimed they did, but he also seemed so desperate to get rid of them that I doubted his word. In the end, I'm incredibly happy to have these since Easter decorations are pretty sparse in my house.
It's another taste of terror. It's a second helping of horror. The bite is back.
You can't go in there. Let's just go get help. Well, who are we going to call? Critter Busters?
Critters 2. The main course. Rated PG-13. Now playing at a theater near you.
Coming in at number 4, we have Critters 2, the main course. Like so many horror movie franchises of the 1980s, Critters went from a sincere horror movie to something a bit campier in the sequels. And as much as I love the first movie, I'm not one to complain about a horror franchise leaning a bit more into horror comedy. In fact, I'd go so far as to say I prefer it. Though Critters 2 technically isn't billed as a horror comedy, I nevertheless remember laughing my little butt off when the brigade of Krites pop into the open zipper of that poor guy's bunny suit. The stunt is definitely played for laughs. I mean, just listen to the music, yet still contains a sharp horror edge with the bunny's bloody end.
Oh, this is great. The Easter Bunny with his Tehachapi hanging out. Give them kids a real education. What the hell was in you? Ah!
they saw sitting on the right side a young man clothed in a long white garment. And they were affrighted.
Setting the movie during Easter was an inspired decision, considering the Crite eggs left behind at the end of the first movie, and the holiday further serves as a solid juxtaposition to the horror elements of the creature feature. If you're not interested in watching Ben-Hur this year, perhaps Critters 2 is a better seasonal alternative. Alright, listen, I'm allowed one cop-out pick per list, and number 3 is it. Yes, giant chocolate bunnies are still around, and no, they probably aren't particularly linked to the 1980s in any way. In fact, both rabbits and eggs are traditional symbols of renewal and fertility as springtime traditions across various cultures. According to Laura Padovano in her article, The History of the Chocolate Bunny, the first written record of an egg-laying bunny came from Germany in the 1600s, and her name was Osterhase, translating to Easter hare. Osterhase would bring children colored eggs as a gift, but eventually she would hide them in the garden for them to find, much like we do with treat-filled plastic eggs today. These same traditions were brought to America by German immigrants, later called the Pennsylvania Dutch, in the 1700s. Although we don't know for sure who the very first person was to make a chocolate rabbit, Robert L. Stroker, a drugstore owner in Pennsylvania, eventually received the title of Father of the Chocolate Easter Bunny due to his creation of a 5-foot-tall chocolate bunny. These confections continued to grow in popularity until 1925, when the craze really took off, and they remain a popular Easter basket addition even today. In that way, many people's favorite 1980s Easter memories may revolve around the somewhat sadistic ritual of bashing in a cute bunny's face with a plastic hammer and devouring its delicious chocolate bits. You animals. For the number 2 slot, we chose Bendable bunny figures. These little toys go back to my fascination with drugstores and corner stores of the 80s. They were bastions of eccentricity. Places where you could purchase Flintstones vitamins right next to Silly Putty. Places that would stock all manner of cheap holiday toys for kids to beg their moms for in the checkout aisle. And yes, a place that would stock these deceptively fun, bendy toys. They were fairly generic items that you'd find in various stores produced by various companies, mainly used as Easter basket fillers. A quick search online finds products from Egg Time, Easter Unlimited, and Dudley's, with most being completely unbranded. My favorite thing to do with them was bend their legs around my other action figures so Leonardo or Lion-O, or a figure that doesn't start with the letter L, could carry the bunny around like a living backpack. In the coveted number 1 spot, we have Easter television specials. On a VHS tape that holds all of writer Tony's Easter home movies, there was also a tape from TV copy of the Smurfs Springtime Special and a Family Circus Easter doubleheader that aired on NBC in 1982. This meant, of course, that every time Easter rolled around, his family would pop the tape in to watch the television specials along with the old home movies. Though Tony admits to not having watched either special in decades, he does vaguely remember the Family Circus episode being his favorite of the two. Perhaps because of the big musical number with the Easter Bunny, though I suspect the Smurfs episode holds up a little better. Luckily, both full episodes are available free to watch on YouTube. See the video description for links so you can decide for yourself. What would a top 5 list be without a bonus pick? And this one is a doozy. Whenever Easter rolls around, writer Tony thinks about the Cadbury cream egg caper, also known as that time he stole his cousin's Cadbury egg. Blatantly, right out of his Easter basket, while he sat there with his back turned. It has become something of a family joke over the years because his dad captured undeniable video evidence of Tony's theft, archived on the very same VHS tape that holds the previously mentioned Easter specials.
Yeah, they must have taken the bag.
Like so many others, Tony obviously adores Cadbury cream eggs. Is adore strong enough a word for a person who would steal their own cousin's Easter bounty? Well, perhaps not. Perhaps he was infatuated with Cadbury eggs, or even obsessed. They embody every wonderfully confusing aspect of Easter, conflating rabbits and chickens while insisting it all has something to do with religion in one tooth-achingly delicious confection wrapped in colored foil reminiscent of a bejeweled crown. The cream-filled chocolate egg was first conceived of in 1923, eventually evolving into the treat we now know in 1963, then called Fry's cream eggs. It wasn't until 1971 when they officially became Cadbury cream eggs, reaching their height of popularity in the 80s when America was first introduced to the adorable clucking Cadbury Easter Bunny. This famously endearing commercial aired for decades, even as the equally memorable Cadbury Bunny tryout commercials of 1989 and 1994 made their way into the lineup.
Everyone wants to be the Cadbury Bunny, because only he brings delicious Cadbury cream eggs, while others may keep trying. No bunny knows Easter better than Cadbury.
In the UK, they got the How Do You Eat Yours campaign in 1986, 2 years before the How Do You Eat a Reese's ad campaign, I might add. Worth mentioning at this juncture is that the Cadbury eggs of the UK reportedly taste different than the US version. Though I've never had the UK version, I've had enough experience with other candies from overseas to know the quality isn't just different in Europe, it's better.
Hi there, like to introduce more ways to eat your Cadbury's cream eggs. Here's Lone Ranger on Silver. Whoa, take it steady, Nettie. On Tom-Toms, Abraham Lincoln. Wham, bam, thank you, Abraham. Julius Caesar on saxophone. He's a taste bud pleaser there. Caesar Geezer. Bonnie Prince Charlie doing the yoki koki. Off with its block chalk. Cadbury's cream eggs. How do you eat yours?
Sadly, the Cadbury cream egg of today is simply not the same confection as the one of the 1980s. First of all, Cadbury has maliciously shrunken the size of the egg over the years, as BJ Novak hilariously proved on the Conan O'Brien show in 2007.
I buy my Cadbury eggs this year. They feel smaller than they used to be. And I ask my friends, okay, a couple people noticed that, right?
Yeah.
I ask my friends, have they gotten smaller? My friends say, no, you've just gotten bigger. I'm like, oh. You go to the main Cadbury website. It says on the front page, no, they have not gotten smaller, you've gotten bigger. So something is up.
That's weird that no one asked. They're volunteering it. That's very strange.
That makes you a little suspicious that they brought it up so easily, or they've heard so many complaints.
Yes, that's what I think.
So I'm thinking, okay, I have stashed away Easter candy for years, for the course of the year. I must have somewhere. I must have a Cadbury egg from the previous year. I look through all the cabinets in my house. I find a Cadbury cream egg from a couple years ago, and I brought it.
This is one?
This is this year's Cadbury egg, not the mini egg, not the mini cream egg. This is this year's egg.
Yes.
This is the egg. From a couple years ago.
Look at that!
Judge for yourself, America.
What does Cadbury think they're pulling?
I don't know. I mean, they know something. They know that we're onto them.
Yeah.
The website.
Yeah.
I bet they weren't expecting this.
Jeff has...
But like so many other junk foods, the recipe has also changed. So if you buy a Cadbury egg in 2025, it's a smaller, subpar version of the absolute delight we used to experience in the 80s. And that's even before we acknowledge the fairly large group of Cadbury egg haters who find them too sweet or just plain gross, even before the recipe changes. Yeah, I know we're gonna see you down in the comments. But as for me, I still remember the yearly hunt for these foil-wrapped treasures, often stacked in boxes or in great piles within enormous displays. Children would paw through looking for the best, unmarred eggs. For if there was as much as a tiny fissure, a puncture in the chocolate shell, so the legend goes, the fondant filling would go from silken and creamy to seized up and grainy. Though in my estimation, whether punctured or not, I always had a 50-50 shot of getting the superior filling. Even as time changes all things, I can assure you that shrunken or not, different recipe or not, Tony will go on his yearly hunt for Cadbury eggs. And yes, he may even sneak one out of some unsuspecting family member's Easter basket. You know, for old time's sake. But what about Easter baskets? I can hear you furiously typing in the comments section. To be fair, we've certainly played that little trick on past lists by including things like Christmas stockings and Halloween treat bags. And yes, Easter baskets were on this list too. I mean, let's face it, they're timeless. The weaved basket filled with pastel-colored fake grass, with jelly beans, chocolate rabbits, and Cadbury eggs nestled inside. Maybe you even have a few of those money-filled plastic eggs. I can still see little me toting my basket around the house in search of colored, hard-boiled eggs, placing each one gently next to my candy stash. You could certainly argue it deserved a hallowed place on the list. Then again, having talked about it here in the outro, maybe it made the list after all. Of course, I'm sure we missed something, so tell me, what other memorable Easter favorites should we have included? I would love to hear about it down in the comments, and if you enjoy our content, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and maybe even activating that ubiquitous notification bell. It really does make a huge difference. Let's meet again next week to celebrate Yesteryear, right here on RetroDaze.
Clicky clicky.